Hi, this is Melanie for the Pardesi channel. I'm here to do a review of Manikarnika, starring and directed by Kangana Ranaut. I actually had recorded an entire review of this film that I'm throwing out and starting all over again because my review posed a lot of questions like, I don't know how much Kangana directed of this film and how much Krish directed of this film. He left partway through the filming of the film and left to finish his film NTR, the biopic. There was all sorts of tension on the sets. Sonu Sood had a supporting role in Manikarnika, and suddenly he left the film, and then they had to reshoot scenes. Since the film has come out on Friday, there have been interviews with both Sonu Sood and Krish in which they finally have broken their silence and talked about some of the tensions on set and why they both left. So I felt like, okay, I'm just going to start over. The film is not a perfect film, but it's definitely an enjoyable watch. When I did the teaser reaction and the trailer reaction, I was not familiar with the story of Laxmibai, which I know everyone in India learns about it in their school books, but I didn't grow up in India, so I was not familiar with her story. It's an incredible story, and to me, it's kind of amazing that I think there was a very early Indian film in the beginning of the 20th century that was about her, but it's amazing that there really haven't been more movies about her because it's a very compelling story. It's true history. Now, I know they took some liberties and fictionalized, some parts of the story. We can't know exactly what she said at every moment, but there's disclaimers at the beginning of the film that they worked with historians. They tried to be, I guess, as accurate as they could be. She's such a heroic figure. It's iconic, her going into battle with her baby strapped to her back. All of that is true. She led a revolt against the English, and it reminded me in many ways of Mel Gibson in Braveheart, and that was a film that he directed himself as well, showing someone who may not have succeeded in what they were trying to do at the time, but the flame of freedom that they put into their people and the symbol that they became was actually even more powerful than what they were in their real life. And I think there's some parallels there. In Braveheart, it was also the English that were the enemy. I can't imagine another actress playing Manikarnika, playing Laxmibai. I think that Kangana Ranaut was perfect for the role because she personally has an intensity to her. You can believe that this is someone who was trained in sword fighting, who could go into battle, who could rally all of these troops and inspire all these people to fight with her against the English. You totally can believe that. I don't know how much of the film that she directed. Some of what I'm hearing in these interviews, there could have been creative differences. Obviously, there were. Krish had a certain vision of what the film should be. Sonu Sood signed on to do a film, and he thought his part was a certain size. And then when evidently in Krish's interview, he said, the film was mostly finished and was in June, and everyone was dubbing their scenes. And when Kangana saw the first rough cut, she was not happy, and she wanted to make a lot of changes. Now, Sonu Sood's character is one of her main antagonists, Sadashiv, who wanted to rule Jhansi, and so basically he was conspiring with the British so that he would end up getting it once Laxmibai was out of the picture. Now, I can see setting that up where you have someone from within the kingdom plotting against and working with the bigger enemy, the English. That sets up a compelling story. So one Sonu Sood's interview, he said he had shot 45 to 50 days worth of footage. And then when Kangana replaced him with Mohammad Zishan Ayub, who I am thankful the poor man is finally getting to play someone that's not just a best friend. He's played the best friend in so many films. But anyway, it's a much smaller role. And frankly, all of the supporting characters, according to Krish, have a much smaller role in the finished film than the one that he had filmed. The screenwriter is the same person who wrote the Bahubali films. And obviously we know those, besides just as Prabhas's character, there are many strong other memorable characters in those films. So I am left wondering what was on the cutting room floor, what were the reshoots, because they only did the reshoots for Sonu's part in 4 to 5 days. So it must be drastically reduced. And I'll be honest with you, while I thought Kangana's performance is amazing, she does a stunning job. She's so brave. She gets heroic entries. She gets the slow-mo. She's believable in all the battle scenes. I even like one of my favorite scenes is when she is mock sword fighting with her young child and she falls on the floor and they're playing together. There's an iconic scene when her husband has just died. Her husband was played by a Bengali actor, Jishu Sengupta, who was very good, but again, smaller role. When she decides, I'm not going to shave my head as a widow, I'm going to be the queen. And she just stands up from the water being poured on her and she's like, no, I'm not shaving my head. I like that part where she just takes on the mantle of being the queen. So she has these really iconic, memorable scenes. She's very good, but it's almost all Kangana. There's even a role, Atul Kulkarni, one of my favorite character actors, and he plays sort of the sword master, the person who has trained her in the art of sword fighting and war as she was growing up. And one of our introduction scenes to her is seeing her fighting 3 men, and that's the moment when the person from Jhansi's kingdom comes to bring a proposal. And so, I just like he gets all Atul gets is sort of a little smirk, like, yeah, these boys think they can beat her. No way, I've trained her. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that all we're gonna get? And then he does come back at the end of the film. But, again, I wonder if he had had a little bit more in the original screenplay. We've got 2 sides telling 2 sides of the story. We have Kangana saying that she directed 70% of the film. We have Krish saying that all of the war battle scenes he did, and they remain pretty much as he did them. That she had added in a song at the beginning half, and so he's saying like she tweaked 25%. She's saying she added more. I don't know. All I'll tell you is when you see the credits, it says Kangana's name first, directed by, and then instead of Krish's screen name, like she puts his full 3-part name, which even that he kind of took umbrage that she's like, in the interview, he's like, that's not how I'm known. I'm known as Krish. A hero is only as strong as when you're seeing them opposite a really good villain. At least that's my opinion. And I felt like Richard Keep plays Hugh Rose, and he was pretty good. I can't even find the name of the person who played sort of the captain or the major or something that was her opponent in the first half of the film. He was okay. But then when you get to the next tier, all the other soldiers and people around, the English actors were so bad. Ugh, why can't they just like pay for decent people? I mean, it's like laughably bad. And they also had that thing where they're speaking Hindi when they're just alone in a tent with each other instead of speaking English. Like occasionally they would speak English, but then I guess it's so the kids get it without having to be able to read the subtitles, or I guess. But it's kind of jarring to me because some of the English actors that they get are usually so bad. Ankita Lokande, I think this is her debut Hindi film. She plays Jalkari Bai, who memorably impersonates Laxmibai, the queen, so that the queen can escape and martyrs herself. I thought she was quite good. Yeah, some of the scenes that are going to really stay with me are when Kangana gives a rousing speech to all the women in the fort. They're going to be vastly outnumbered, so she asks all the women to fight, which of course they're, all for it. And there's a beautiful song sequence when they're all practicing swordplay and doing drills, and it's almost like a ballet. It was really cool. So there's a lot of scenes of them then going into battle in the second half alongside the men, and I really like that. I think this is a really compelling story. It's still a decent movie, but I think it would have been a greater movie if it had had some stronger supporting characters. And I think that's what Kangana cut out. You know, I appreciate a woman being able to get the full hero treatment. And, you know, there's no reason why her introduction can't be with the flowing curly locks and shooting an arrow into a tiger. That's all fine, but I think something was left. So I'm not saying that Kangana, though, is a bad director. I would be interested to see what she does in the future, but she may have burned some bridges in the industry here with how everything happened on set. Although, on the other hand, I wonder if a man, like, for instance, Amir Khan, who is known to have very strong opinions on set with his directors, would a man have been listened to, and didn't Kangana feel that she wasn't listened to when she wanted to be part of the creative process? I don't know if we'll ever know, because there are two wildly differing accounts of what happened on that set. At the end, Kangana, I think, did an amazing performance and very intense. I will say the story was written by the screenwriter Bahubali, but the dialogues were written by somebody else, and I found them clunky and stilted. It didn't have quite the impact sometimes in certain scenes that I thought it should have. I'm interested to know what you think of this film. Please do leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed this film, if you were satisfied with Kangana and your image of what Laxmibai, Queen of Jhansi, should have been, how she should have been portrayed on screen, and if you thought that they were faithful to the story that you grew up learning about, because it's not a story that I grew up learning about, so I can't really judge if you felt like there were historical inaccuracies that they put into the film. Please do subscribe here to the Pardesi Reviews channel. Follow me on Twitter at PardesiYT. If you hit the bell when you subscribe, then you'll get a notification whenever I have a new trailer reaction or film review. Please do like and share.